we see the real humanity of Darth Vader. Now, I know it sounds a little crazy, but these were the scenes that actually came to mind when I read the Brit Hadashah portion. Now, you're going to be like, Rabbi, you have completely lost it. You're absolutely, positively nuts. But you have to understand something, okay? Usually, when I read the passages, when I read the portions, and I start preparing early in the week for the message for Shabbat, oftentimes it takes a lot of effort for me to come up with something from a movie or something relevant, but not this time. God just put that right in my... See, God is a Star Wars fan. He put this particular scene and this concept into my head early on so that I knew exactly what I was going to be doing. So it's not that I have not lost my mind. It's not that I have not lost my mind, but that's not the reason why. Okay? So keep that in mind. In our New Covenant reading, we see a great transformation. Now, anybody here from a Catholic background will go right to the concept of Transfiguration. It's also a holiday. It's celebrated on August 6th in Catholicism. I want to kind of take a little bit of the mystery outside of this, out of this word, okay? We're going to talk about it a bit. They call it a transfiguration, which simply means, according to the dictionary, a change in form or appearance. Okay? So just transfiguration, a change in form or appearance, just keep that in your mind and separate it from any kind of Catholic connotation for the time being, okay? In Matthew chapter 17, which is where we read about the transfiguration, Yeshua takes 3 disciples up on a mountain, okay? They had been in Caesarea Philippi. Anyone know where Caesarea Philippi is? Where's Caesarea Philippi? Outside of Beit Shean. North, south, east, west, where? Where? It's north. Is it a little north or is it way north? It's way north. It's north of the Galilee. Okay, Caesarea Philippi is north of the Galilee. It may, some people, it's up by the Golan, actually, in that area. Okay, so that's where Yeshua and the disciples were. They were hanging out. There was a bunch of stuff that happened. They had been, just chilling in the city. Maybe they saw Star Wars. I don't know. They're just hanging out. They were there for like 6 days. Okay, after 6 days, they go out of the city and they go up a mountain. Now, there are those who believe that the mountain of the Transfiguration was much further south, closer towards Jerusalem. Okay, however, modern scholarship believes that since they were in Caesarea Philippi, the closest mountain that would have been fitting for this kind of a venue would have been Mount Hebron. Okay? Anyone been to Mount Hebron? Okay? Mount Hebron is even further north than Caesarea Philippi. In fact, if you picture in your mind the map of that Middle East region, and you picture the Sea of Galilee, Mount Hebron is about halfway between the northern part of the Sea of Galilee and Damascus, Syria. So this is where Yeshua and the disciples went. Not Mount Hebron, Mount Hermon. They go to the top of this mountain, and the tops of these mountains were called high places. These were typically the places where pagan people would set up altars. They're at the top of the mountain. They call them high places. Whenever you read in the high place in the scripture, this is what they're talking about. So Yeshua, Peter, James, and John, okay, they trek out of the city of the Caesarea Philippi, and they go up to the high place on Mount Hermon, and something incredible happens. There, the disciples see him change form and appearance. He changes form and appearance. That's why they call it a transfiguration. Okay? Just connecting the dots. After the change in his appearance, Moses and Elijah appear. They start talking with Yeshua. And when I say they appear, That is to say that according to the text, after the change, the 3 disciples were able to see the other 2 talking with Yeshua. Very little is given in terms of metaphysics and chronology here. This is like from the perspective of the disciples. Okay? Yeshua changes, then they see Moses and Elijah talking to the Lord. Peter the practical, he starts talking about building tabernacles. Now, why does Peter the practical start building Sukkot, in the middle of Mount Hermon? Why? Why does he do that? There are some people who believe that it's because it was Sukkot time. It was about the Feast of Tabernacles. That really can't be the case. Can't be the case. Just wrong time. So why would he do it? Okay? Here's the thing. By this point, the prophet Zechariah had already been written. They would have been familiar with it. Everyone knows Zechariah? I mean, not personally, but you know of him. In Zechariah chapter 12 and chapter 14, it says that when the kingdom comes, they'll be celebrating tabernacles. Right? You remember this? If not, go back and read it. So here they are at the top of this mountain. Yeshua changes form, transfigures right before their eyes. Then all of a sudden, boom, Moses and Elijah, the 2, I'm going to make up a word, the keyest figures, I don't think that's a word, the 2 most important figures in all of Jewish history up to that point, Moses and Elijah, appear there with the Lord. In Peter the practical's mind, the kingdom is here, we need some tabernacles. And so he says to the Lord, he says to Yeshua, hey, I'm paraphrasing, he says, hey, let me go build some Sukkot for you. I'll build 3 of them. I'll build one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah. Who did they leave out? Themselves. They left out Peter, John, and James. But we'll build them for you. One for Moses, one for Elijah, and one for Yeshua. And so Peter is talking to Jesus about this. Peter says is in the process of telling Yeshua all this, and like God interrupts him. It's like God interrupts. This light opens up. And while he's talking, Peter gets interrupted, who then identifies Yeshua. God now identifies Yeshua, the transfigured Yeshua, the one with the shiny face and the glowing robes, as his son. That's an amazing thing. Not only is this his son, this is my son whom I love. Not only is this my son whom I love, listen to him. That's the voice that Peter hears. The only possible response to this is worship. And that's exactly what happens. Peter, John, and James fall down flat on their face. But not in worship. They are scared to death. It says they fell down on their face in fear. Now, how can I say this? Well, no, it's like the healthy fear of the Lord. No, because right after that, Yeshua taps him on the shoulder and says, hey, get up, don't be afraid. When they look up, it's like Transfiguration 2, because he's changed form and appearance again, back to the way he was. Elijah and Moses are gone. It's just them and Yeshua. Everything's back to normal. And I'm using this word transfiguration just so that we get comfortable with it. It's not a bad word. So now I'm caught up in a question. Now, do you remember that old game show? And if you're dating yourself and you don't want to say